Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a great show for you. First, let's talk about linguistic legacy. The Oxford University is planning to publish the Oxford University African American English Dictionary, with Henry Louis Gates being the editor-in-chief. I talked to international motivational speaker and the energetic MC, Ms. Quinn Conyers, to talk about why it's important for us to have Black American English as part of our vernacular. We'll have that conversation. And last week, Black Lives Matter celebrated its 9-year anniversary. We check in with Dr. Melina Abdullah, who serves as the co-founder of the LA chapter of BLM, to talk about their impact report that they had just recently put out and what that means moving forward. And then later, can we talk about affirmative action? There is some major conversation happening about whether affirmative action should be used for college admissions. I'm going to share with you what one op-ed writer had to say, and I'm going to get your take on the conversation. And then later, we check in with the celebrity chef, the vegan guru, to talk about why veganism is taking over America and how there's a changing taste, especially within the Black community. So we'll have that conversation. So that's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's go. Folks, welcome to the show, and happy Wednesday to all of you who are checking in, especially if you're checking in on our blackstarnetwork.com, and especially if you're checking in on all of the streaming platforms that we are on, YouTube, Facebook, every place else. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's show. Folks, we got a fantastic show. I got some great people that are going to be talking to us today about a number of issues. And the first thing I wanted to share and really have a discussion about was linguistic legacy. Folks, this is around the idea and the effort coming out of Oxford University, where they have said that they're going to be moving forward on publishing an African American English dictionary to recognize Black influence on language. Now, here's the thing, folks. It's not just going to be any dictionary. Sometimes when you have major projects like this, it's kind of done behind the scenes, or it's done without us being at the table. Well, the editor-in-chief of the dictionary will be none other than Brother Henry Louis Gates Senior, and Mr. Gates said that and we want to post this, Keenan. Mr. Gates is very happy to be a part of the project, but more importantly, he believes that this project will open the door for another big conversation relating to it. Now, check this out. He said that every speaker of American English borrows heavily from words invented by African Americans, whether they know it or not. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this linguistic legacy and what does this mean as we're looking at influencing the culture and its vernacular. We wanted to have someone who uses language extensively, someone that understands the power of language. So I wanted to have my powerful sister. She is a dynamic international motivational speaker. She's known as the energetic MC, has hosted a number of national conferences across the country, has done some fantastic work in getting people excited about their personal power and using language as the platform to do it. So we want to welcome to the airwaves of the Black Star Network, Ms. Quinn Conyers. Quinn, how are you this afternoon?
I am awesome and amazing. How are you, Farajii?
I'm good. It's so good to talk to you, especially about something I know that's near and dear, and that's something that you're very passionate about, which is language, the power of language, and why it's important for us to have what we call linguistic legacy. Talk to us a little bit about this idea, the fact that Oxford University, a very prestigious elite university, moving forward with publishing this African American English dictionary, having one of our great scholars, Henry Louis Gates, to be at the helm of this. How big is this, Quinn?
mean, big is an understatement. It's definitely epic because I don't think that people realize how much language is a part of our everyday lives. I have a 5 and I have a 6-year-old, and I remember taking my 6-year-old to his first doctor's appointment, and the doctor asked me, not can he run, can he jump, but literally had asked me, does he know at least 6 words? And I thought
Mm,
about it for a second, and I thought about the words, and yes, he did. And if you think about language and words, there are people who are 40, 50, 60 years old still walking around and they are jaded or they are stagnant because of something that somebody said to them when they were in 3rd or 4th grade.
come on.
Even if you think about language from a standpoint of someone being arrested, when they read you your Miranda rights, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can be held against you in a court of law. And if you
Yeah.
think about marriage as well, Farajii, stay with me for a second. I'm taking you on this journey to talk
Come
about
on.
why this is
I'm
so
with you.
important. Is because in all 50 states, if you want to get married, you cannot give a thumbs up. You cannot give a head nod. You verbally have to say, I do. So if language is a part of our lives, not just when we speak and we communicate, but just a part of our overall makeup and DNA when it comes to how we communicate and speak, absolutely. And there are so many words that we give weight to. And there's a lot of people, especially who are African American or Black, and they have awesome and amazing ideas. But if you don't know how to explain your excellence, if you don't know how
Yeah.
to verbalize your value, right, then you're going to be stuck. And when you think about growing in your business and your career, language is always a part of that. You can't get that next job unless you do an interview. If you're interviewing, what do you have to do? You have to speak. If you want to
Right.
get more customers and clients as an entrepreneur, you have to have your sales pitch. You have to be able to communicate what it is that you do. So when it comes to language, I love the fact that they're doing this, number one. Number two, I think that as African Americans, as people, we need to understand how much weight our words really hold.
Let me just tell you, first and foremost, Quinn, let me do this. Let me do this. I always do this when a powerful point has been dropped, right? Because I understand the power of language, which is, of course, the work that we do, which is communication, media work. I mean, language is everything. And especially during the time that we're living in where there is so much bickering, there's so many ambiguities in language, right? We're seeing it in the political space. We see it in with athletes and entertainers. I mean, anywhere we're going, you have to be very conscious and intentional about the words that you use instead of being in a space where you're just saying anything, especially on social media, right? Because I think now we're seeing more and more people, I hope more and more people, that is, understand that what you say really does carry weight. You know, the old adage of sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. I tell people, don't tell your children that.
Yeah, that's a lie.
That's a bold-faced lie. The fact is, words do hurt, and words can come back to bite you in the ass if you don't know how to say, how to articulate, how to express yourself. And in a time where, some people might push against it, but you do have to be more cognizant of the language that you use. We're in a time where people are using different pronouns to identify their gender. We're in a time where you could be very offensive that the language that you used maybe just even 5 years ago may be outdated with the time. So given all these changes, Quinn, how do you communicate that, especially as a Black woman? You recently did, and I saw it, and I just want to give you a big congrats. You spoke to over 900 people during an MCing opportunity that you did over a 3-day period. And I'm looking at you, and I'm like, I know Quinn, and Quinn is from the hood. But Quinn, you talked to 900 people, Black, white, Latino, and you connected with them. So how do we connect given all of these parameters on what we say and how we say it?
Well, first and foremost, I consider myself a business athlete, and public speaking is my sport. So I study public speaking. I study the spoken word. And one of the things about me is I realized a very long time ago that my gift is in the gift of gab. Like there is a way that I know why I'm here. I know my assignment. And part of my assignment is to speak life into the universe. So I understood, Farajii, that literally I am going to leave a legacy with my language. I consider myself a linguistic lyricist when it comes to
Ooh.
words, right?
Ooh.
And the reason why I do that is because I do have a way, like you just mentioned, that I could be the only on stage, the only woman, the only Black person, the only millennial, whatever that looks like. But because I understand the idea and the concept and the ideology of words, I can still connect when people might see just differences. So that is one thing that I know, but also too, I've learned at a very young age through coaching, development, professional development, getting everything and learning and being a student to, again, public speaking, is that I know how to verbalize my value. So there's so many people that are walking around and know they're good at something. They know that they know how to do it, but they don't have the right words to explain it. Whereas that happens to be a gift of mine. So when I did step on that stage, which happened to be one of the biggest stages, I understood that the words that are coming out of my mouth are going to be very impactful. And I'm not just representing Quinn Conyers on this stage. I'm representing women on this stage. I'm representing people from Baltimore on this stage, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm representing Black people as well, because let's be clear, we was there, but it wasn't a lot of us. It was a little bit of chocolate drops, right? But I understood that a woman, especially who knows who she is, but can also articulate her awesomeness, she can write her own ticket. But also what I'm doing subconsciously is that any other person that meets another Black person or a Black woman, their perspective is now shifted because they saw somebody else speaking well. So it's one of those things where, you know this, we go way back. I've always had the gift of gab. What I did was I polished, I perfected, and I studied this to go from not just being good or great. And that's where people kind of stop, whether it's language, business, or career. I understood that there was levels and layers to language. So I didn't want to be good. I didn't want to be great. I wanted to be grand. So I really invested in myself to not just be a great communicator, but to, again, to be what I call a linguistic legend. And that's how I want to leave my legacy, is through words.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, here's the thing, what Oxford University is looking to do, this new dictionary is set to be released in 2025, Quinn. And the purpose behind the dictionary is to shine a light on the history, meaning, and significance of African American language. Now, our language, now, and the other part is, let me just say this. Dr. Henry Louis Gates, he said it himself. He said, this is not a dictionary of Ebonics. That's slang. This is not about Ebonics. This is about language. And now I think that it's important that we as Black folks especially start to understand the power of our language. Like, our language is not slang. Our language is something else. And that the culture in America has actually benefited greatly from how we communicate and how we express ourselves. So talk to me about, trying to, and for lack of a better word, trying to take all that expression and putting it into a book. I mean, I would think that would be a massive undertaking. I'm glad Dr. Henry Louis Gates is at the helm of it, but I'm sure that's a massive undertaking, because in the way we speak, we can go from quote unquote corporate speak to street speak and going back to corporate speak. You know what I'm saying? And then we could talk all the levels, like, yes, there is a diversity issue, but bop, bop, bop. And you just be like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I think that's worth mentioning. Like you said, it's not just about, this is not a dictionary on just Ebonics. And I actually want to do a little bit more research on this myself, so I'm intelligent, so I can speak from a place. But it's so needed and it's so necessary. And you mentioned this before, but I think it's something that is worth diving into. I believe, as African Americans, as Black people, we give words that we hear all the time, just different meaning. I talk about all the time about, I work with a lot of women, Black women in
Yeah.
business, and teaching them
Yeah.
how to be the spokesperson for their business, their book, or their brand. And a lot of us are using what I call discount dialect. And discount dialect is words and phrases and language that diminish or downplay our greatness. Now, I'm going to give you an example, right? So one of the words that I believe, and I need to talk to who's ever at this Oxford Dictionary, is if we can redo the word help. I hate the word help. And I'm going to tell you why I hate the word help in our culture and our community. Because a lot of times, especially from an entrepreneurial perspective, that people are like, oh, you want to start a business? I can help you. Need your taxes done? I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. And subconsciously, we are promoting our products and services as the help. And then when people come to us, they want our help. They want to pick our brain. So in my opinion, if I were to put that down, I would say the word help in the culture standpoint is a discount dialect word. How I would reframe that and give a perspective shift is to encourage people, especially women, especially Black people, to use what I call luxury language. And luxury language is words and phrases that elevate and enhance and amplify who we are and what we do. On the contrary, discount dialect is weak words. Luxury language is wealthy words. So instead of saying that you can help, you can coach, you can magnify, you can equip, you can assist, but you don't help anyone. So part of my legacy is to teach Black people and people in general how to be more conscious, how to be more intentional about using luxury language, so you're not out here promoting and marketing yourself as the help when you really are the answer to somebody's problem. You really are the solution to somebody's prayer, but nobody is hiring you. You keep getting overlooked because when you describe and you use those spoken words, you're using discount dialect and you're not even aware. So I would love to, like I say, contact these people and say, where can I be a part of this? Because I'm not good at a lot of things, but language, that's my stuff. That's my jam.
And you ain't gonna tell them that you want to help them. You want to tell them, hey, I need to encourage you and coach y'all through this process. Dr. Gates, you got this in the editor style, but let me just coach you along so that way we can represent properly. I totally agree with that.
Or be the spokesperson and talk about the shifts of language and how language is impacted every part of our life. Like I mentioned, people don't realize. I mean, think about it like this. We're both parents, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it from this standpoint, mothers are super upset, right? If they have a baby and the baby's first words is dada. Really? I carried your little butt for 9 months and your first words are dada, right? That's how much language holds weight. And it's not just the words that come out of your mouth. If you think about language, it's sometimes our own self-talk, how we're talking to ourselves, right? Yep. So if you look at language, not just from a one-dimensional standpoint, I look at language from a demographic, psychographic, but 360 point of view where other people might not see it that way. But I live, I breathe, I sleep words in a different way. And that allows me to connect to my audience when I am speaking or serving or emceeing. But language, on the flip side of that, it's the way you talk to yourself. It's the way you communicate who you are to the universe as well. That's equally as important.
And to speak to that very quickly, Quinn, and I want to share what some of our watchers are saying. But to speak to that, there is a psychological impact that words have on yourself, on oneself, right? There is, like, if you use the N word to describe yourself and the N word or the B word to describe yourself, right? I'm a bad B word. There's a psychological impact to that. That's how you're going to see there is a, when you think of the N word as often is you go into it. It means dead. It means something that is not full of life. And so if you're describing yourself as a dead entity, as an entity that is not full of life, an entity that doesn't produce, an entity that doesn't vibrate on a higher level, then your actions, everything from that simple thought is going to be manifested in the actions that you do or you don't do. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because it's so much more than just vernacular. It is really about self-expression to the highest level. All right, let me go share with you, Quinn, what people are saying. Folks are checking in and are excited about the conversation. Belinda, I want to start with you. Belinda, thank you so much for checking in. You say so true. How many of y'all have to adjust your conversations depending on the listeners, especially when you're in interviews? Come on. We do it every day. You got to do it. You got to do it. And to go back to your point, Quinn, you talking about those discount words. They make you come across as being very small-minded. Like, you know, I never forget when Trump said fake news. I was like, boy, that's a 4-letter word to describe some inaccurate reporting. You can't even say inaccurate news. You got to go to straight elementary school words, fake news. And it's funny how people at first were like, oh my gosh, he sounds so young. He sounds so immature. But now we essentially are using that terminology as part of our vernacular. I'm like, where's the pushback? Fake news. You know, we say it, but then you think about it, you're like, that's a 4-letter word that my son at 9 years old is able to understand the concept of, versus saying, you know, that's news that's not accurate. That's news that embellishes the truth. All of those things. But you just go straight to the simplest word, fake news. So I'm right there with you, Belinda. Brother King Lee, good to hear from you, bro. You say, look, I know when my parents relocated the family from Long Island to Georgia, some of the Black and white children in Georgia attempted to bully me and my siblings for speaking properly from the North. And we're still seeing that today, Quinn.
Let me tell you something.
Let me just share this with you very quickly, and I want you to kind of speak on it. Belinda said, well, why when a person speaks well in our communities, they say you're trying to talk white? No, I have proper grammar. My wife is an educator. She tells me, and she loves words. She's a reader. She's a writer. But she says that same conversation is still happening in the schools that she's worked in. How do we break through that? No, you're not speaking white. So white people are the only ones that speak grammatically correct. Black people, I mean, that's just so low in our thinking. But we need to break that up, that whole myth up. I mean, you just say.
No, I felt that, and the reason why I'm quiet because that was my story growing up. You talk like a white girl,
yeah.
But now people pay me to talk. So guess what? You know,
it's paid off.
It's paid off, but also too, I had to go back and find one of them report cards because I was also the little girl that she talks too much. She's a great student, but she talks too much, right? On her report card. So, you know, and it's about just challenging the misconceptions and the stereotypes when it comes to language, right? Especially with us, our language was stripped from us. Right? Stripped from us. And now that when we can put a sentence together, when we can hold a conversation, when we can converse and not conversate, because conversate is not a word, right? When we can converse with each other and have intelligent conversation and communicate in a way that lands, that we're ostracized in our own community for being able to put a sentence together. So it's just interesting how many of us are still kind of stuck on and not realizing that if you are a person who cusses a lot, if you are a person who can't put a sentence together, it doesn't mean that you are further along. In fact, it means that you actually lack vocabulary. You know, right. I used to teach. I taught public speaking for 1 year at the high school level. And then I taught speech communications for 5 years at the university level. And it was so interesting about how I would, of course, do my textbook teaching, but really go beyond that textbook and really teach these students at HBCUs how language really does affect every aspect of their life. So yes, this is a general education course, but let me talk about how speech and communication and public speaking is about to show up. So if you think that you're just going to slide through this class and then you're going to do what you need to do to navigate through life without being able to communicate, you are wrong. And also too, we're talking about the verbal words, right? I haven't even tapped on the fact that 93% of communication is nonverbal. So how we communicate in the world, only 7% of that is the words. We're communicating through body language, through our clothes, through our facial expression. That's language and communication as well. And that's all of that makes up, you know, language in its totality, not just the verbal word. That's only 7%.
Powerful. Very quickly, I want to get to Mike V. You checked in. You say code switching. Black people are the masters of that. Quinn, do you think there's going to be a period now, if with this project and this Black American English dictionary coming out, do you think code switching is going to be such a big thing, or is it going to slowly die out as a result?
And here's the thing. I don't think code switching is bad. I think that depending on your environment, if I'm hanging out with my girls and we're having a conversation about something, that conversation is going to be different if I'm in a boardroom or I'm in a business room. Just like I'm talking to my 3-year-old and I'm talking to, somebody else. I think that code switching becomes a problem when you completely lose yourself to become somebody else to appease others. But to be honest with you, the way that I talk to my grandmother and the way that I talk to my husband, the way that I talk to my friends is different. So we are code switching. I think the problem of the past was we code switched so much and became so unauthentically ourselves that we lost ourselves. It became draining, right? It became something that we used to despise. So when you start feeling like that, or you feel like you have to prove something to somebody by talking a certain way, that's when code switching can become to your detriment. But I believe that we're code switching all the time. It's just that now there's a lot of things that we can improve on, Farajii, in the world. Yeah. However, we're living in a great time right now where authenticity and bring your whole self to work or to your business is encouraged. That has not always been the thing. So you had to code switch. But now, we are in an environment where people are encouraging people to bring their authentic self. And that hasn't always been the way. So there's some people who are going to have to, psychologically make that shift, that it doesn't have to be that the way that it always was when it came to language.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Quinn, this has been a very, very fascinating conversation. I truly appreciate you for providing your insight. How can folks get more information about the great work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm Quinn Conyers on all social media platforms. Connect with me there. Where I really have my greatest conversations and leave my legacy with language is LinkedIn. That is where I do a lot of what I do. But again, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Quinn Conyers. And I'm really grateful for this conversation, Farajii. And I appreciate you bringing me in because I am a speaker, I am an MC. But I have realized that leaving this legacy with my language is what I want to be known for. And I think that people don't understand quite the totality of language, but there are people that are not here with us anymore, but their language lives on. We can go to YouTube or Google and watch a speech from so many talented people because they left such an impact, right? So I want to be part of that as well. So when you're thinking, when you're speaking, when you're serving, in whatever capacity that you are, I want you to understand that you don't have to be on 10 to be able to command a crowd and speak and articulate yourself. Your whisper can hold weight, and you can still have conversations with people and leave that legacy with your language.
There it is right there. Folks, Quinn Conyers checking in, international motivational speaker. She is the energetic MC. And as you can tell, she just loves language. Make sure y'all check her out at QuinnConyers.com and on all social media platforms. Quinn, thank you so much. We'll certainly bring you back on for other discussions.
All right. Thank you for having me, Farajii.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to switch gears moving forward. Let's check in with Dr. Melina Abdullah in a moment as we talk about the 9-year anniversary of Black Lives Matter. Stay with us. It's coming up in the next half hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
Folks, it has been 9 years since the founding of Black Lives Matter, and this is a movement that has turned into a global community that continues to do the great work of working for the Black liberation and freedom. Today, we wanted to have a conversation about the 9-year anniversary, and more importantly, talked about the impact that BLM has had on the culture, whether it's regards to social justice, whether it's in regards to race relations. And so we're so happy to have back on the airwaves of the culture, Dr. Melina Abdullah, who is a tenured professor and one of the co-founders of the LA chapter of Black Lives Matter. Dr. Melina, how are you, sis?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Sister Melina, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of things that have been happening, but I really did want to take a moment for us to the 9-year anniversary was last week, and I wanted us to have at least a moment to look at how this movement has really grown, and most importantly, let's talk a little bit about the impact that it has made, because I know that BLM has put out an impact report around some of the highlights that you guys have been able to accomplish over these past 9 years, and what can we expect moving forward? So, I mean, does this seem surreal that, you know, that's something that was started 9 years ago, you're looking back 9 years later, you're like, wow, we've been doing this for 9 years. Does this, I mean, you've been doing social justice work for many, many years, but in this capacity, is it like surreal to you?
It is. It is. So 9 years ago, July 13th, 2013, was the day that George Zimmerman was acquitted in the murder of Trayvon Martin. And like many places all around the country in Los Angeles, we rose up, we flooded the streets, we poured into the streets with our children, with our elders, with our students. I was there with my students. And 3 days into the kind of intuitive organizing that Trayvon Martin's spirit required, we were summoned together by Patrice Cullors, who I'd been in organizing space with before. And she asked us to meet July 15th, 2013 at a Black artist community called St. Elmo Village. And we met. It felt like a full moon. I'm not sure if it was, but under the light of the moon, we met, and there were only about 30 of us. But what we recognized is we had to build a movement, not a moment. Many of us had been involved in struggles for justice for Oscar Grant and Amadou Diallo and Margaret Mitchell and so many others, Devin Brown. But we would go out, we would demand justice in those names, and then eventually we would go home. And what we recognized in 2013 is that until we transform the systems under which we live, we'll continue to have to struggle in someone's name. We'll continue to have to hashtag names. And so we pledged to build a movement, not a moment. We made the pledge. I don't know that I knew what that meant at the time.
I'm sure.
But our lives, and I think the world, have been transformed as a result of us trying to step into that sacred duty.
You know, and speaking of sacred duty, and I just want to read just a little bit, an excerpt from your impact report that you put out there, because I think it's important for us to just know this. You say, quote, "We know that in no uncertain terms believe visioning, organizing, and building is our sacred duty. It is what we owe our ancestors, our community, and the generations to come." That's a very powerful statement. And I think that people, when we're talking about this type of work, you know, the key part of it is organizing and building. Talk to us a little bit about the significance. Why is that so important? And especially for a movement that started with a hashtag and now has grown into a global community that has chapters, that have staff, that have volunteers, and just essentially is working in a much more broad space. Why is organizing and building so important?
Sure. So we were always an abolitionist organization. And some people think that abolition means just tearing something down. And I want to be clear, we absolutely intend to topple systems of harm like policing and prisons and jails and the kinds of economies that relegate Black people to poverty. We intend to topple those things. And the other side of abolition is also the building and organizing. So as we think about the abolitionists that immediately come to mind, you know, sacred foremothers like Mama Harriet Tubman, as she worked to topple chattel slavery, she also built a home for the infirmed and elderly in upstate New York, a place where Black people could come and become their whole and complete selves and step into their full humanity and divinity. So organizing and building is hugely important and central to who we are as Black Lives Matter. You know, I'm just coming back from Buffalo, where we've been working with a team on the ground there. We'll remember that on May 14th of this year, a white supremacist terrorist stole the lives of 10 of our folks, injuring 4 others and traumatizing an entire community, leaving the whole of the Black world reeling. Well, that grocery store, Tops grocery store, reopened this past weekend. And the view of the people on the ground universally, whether they felt they needed a grocery store in East Buffalo or not, was that's not enough. We have to demand more. And so the organizing and building is toppling the white supremacy that allowed Peyton Gendron to steal those 10 lives in Buffalo, that allowed George Zimmerman to steal Trayvon Martin's life, toppling that kind of white supremacy, but also building. And so I'm so encouraged by the organizers in places like Buffalo who say, you know what, we're going to uplift the names of people like Catherine Massey, who was killed in that act, in that Buffalo massacre. And we're going to say this whole line, this whole street, this whole boulevard, Jefferson Boulevard, that runs through East Buffalo, we're going to demand more. And we're going to say we need a Black-led, Black-owned community in East Buffalo that doesn't relegate us to a Tops grocery store that's white owned and doesn't care about our Black lives. And so the organizing and building is about leaving something, building something. If we don't want oppressive forms of education, then what are we offering? What are we building? We're demanding Black studies and ethnic studies, liberatory models of education. If we don't want predatory capitalism, as Dr. Julianne Malveaux calls it, then what do we want? We want an economic system where we're all entitled to all of what we need and most of what we want because we're human beings that come from the divine. And so that's what organizing and building is about.
Do you think, and I appreciate that that explanation, because I still feel like in this day and time, in modern day 2022, that seems to be a lost skill, organizing and building, right? We often tout about the highlights and the improvements and the gains that we have benefited from the civil rights movement. But I always remind people that there were a number of folks behind the scenes that were doing just that, organizing and building. How do we help the next generation in particular to learn that skill? Because I feel like nowadays that's kind of pushed to the side. It's more on, just express yourself, get on social media and just talk about it, versus being in the streets, versus building relationships, versus identifying resources, doing the legwork of organizing and building to bring about a change in our circumstances. How do we get that skill set back to the forefront of the social justice movement?
Sure. So that's a huge question. I'll say that we can begin with, because before in that opening to the Black Lives Matter grassroots impact statement, what we offer is we also have to vision, right? And so this world intentionally, white supremacist, patriarchal, heteronormative capitalism intentionally steals our time, steals our right to ourselves, and steals our right to our communities. It creates what Dr. Cornel West calls weapons of mass distraction, right? It tells us that we have to be tethered to these things, right? That we have to be constantly looking at our phones, constantly, glued to electronic systems, constantly in a response mode, responding to someone else's agenda. The most revolutionary thing that we can do as a first step is to steal back our time so that we can collectively vision what kind of world do we want to build. It's what had to be done when you all built this Black Star Network. This came from visioning. I love when Roland Martin talks about there's a difference between Black journalism and Black owned media, right? That we are the lions who are telling our own stories rather than making the hunters the hero. So I would say when we talk about organizing and building, let's begin with visioning. What do we want? Not just what are we fighting against? What do we want? And then building those skill sets is like educating in any other way, that we have to also take the time to read, to study as we approach Black August. Let's think about, that importance of studying. Are we reading? Are we studying? Are we gathering as a collective so that we can build forward collectively, and remembering that we can only organize when we do it in concert with community, when we do it in concert with each other. There is no individualism in organizing. We have to do it collectively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amen. Now, Sister Melina, speaking of community, Black Lives Matter, there are a number of chapters across this country. And again, going back to your impact report that you released, first and foremost, I don't want to keep referring to your report. Is there a way that the public can get access to the 2022 impact report?
Sure. The impact report, again, is Black Lives Matter Grassroots Impact Report, which we sent an early copy to Black media. The final copy will be up on blmgrassroots.org next week, blmgrassroots.org, and it'll be shared on our social media, which is BLM Grassroots. We're the collective of chapters that do the on-the-ground work, that do the organizing and building work. We're not the foundation, we're the actual boots on the ground. And so people can follow our social media. BLM Grassroots will absolutely launch it there, and it'll be on our website as well.
I'm glad that you made that distinction. So that leads to my next question in terms of chapters and presence in cities across this country. We know that BLM carries a big name. It has for these past 9 years, BLM has become synonymous with a lot of different ideas and principles. But is there a plan to expand to a number of cities? Because when I look at the map in the impact report, it's pretty much on the coastline, on the East Coast and on the West Coast. Couple of chapters in the Midwest area. But is there a plan, or is that a part of the vision to have chapters pretty much in all of your major cities in every 50 states? What's the direction for that?
Yeah, so we right now have 26 active chapters. And these are chapters that many of us are the chapters that originated Black Lives Matter. So Black Lives Matter Los Angeles is the original chapter of Black Lives Matter. Some of the chapters came in, over the course of the next several years. And then we have also new chapters that onboarded. So for instance, Black Lives Matter Tampa had been around a couple years, kind of fell apart, and then was reignited by the family of Andrew Joseph III, who was killed there in Tampa by police in 2014. We do have an onboarding process. And what we recognized is in 2015, there was an explosion of Black Lives Matter chapters that were united under our guiding principles, but didn't have the real training and real commitment to be kind of a cohesive set of boots on the ground, right? So what we're doing now is intentionally building and making sure that we stay unified, that we're very clear about what Black Lives Matter is, that Black Lives Matter is an abolitionist organization. So if you want to, be friends with the police, that's fine, but that's a different organization. That's not Black Lives Matter, right? If you want to do work interracially, you want to be a part of an interracial organization, that's fine, but that's a different organization. Black Lives Matter is a Black-led organization. And so we're making sure that we have 26 chapters who are all united, and we're continuing to onboard chapters every year. So again, if people or groups want to onboard into what Black Lives Matter is, then they can go to blmgrassroots.org.
Again, and I'm happy that to hear that, because a lot of people tend to believe that it's all like clumped together, but there is some levels to this, right? There's levels to this work, and the grassroots work is direct action. It is the work that requires boots on the ground, folks getting out into the streets. Sister Melina, with the remaining moments that we have, I'm curious about where your mind is, where your heart is, and where your head is at, especially given this. All that has happened over these past 9 years. How has this transformed you? You've been doing this work for a very, very long time. But then once you got into this role, it's taken you into a different space. Talk to us about your personal journey over these past 9 years.
Sure. Well, I am deeply grateful to have been called into this work. I feel like it's a divine calling, that it is a sacred duty. And I've really found purpose in my life by doing Black Lives Matter work, right? I always say that we're trained sometimes or socialized sometimes to seek out happiness. But, happiness is fleeting, as is sadness, right? There's ups and downs in life. But what carries us through life is really having a sense of purpose. Black Lives Matter has given me, it's my home. It's my, I have a sense of purpose here. And I've been able to enter this work as my whole and complete self, as a single mother of 3 children. My children find a million aunties and uncles in this work. Our souls are nurtured in this work. And so I'm very, very grateful to be a part of Black Lives Matter. I'm grateful to be connected with families who have turned their pain into purpose as well, and work with us on a daily basis. I mentioned being in Buffalo. I was in Buffalo with Andrew Joseph's family, with Jacob Blake Sr., with Oscar Grant's family, with Miss Addie Kitchen, whose grandson, Stephen Taylor, was killed inside Walmart. I was in Akron before that and got to be in community with Jalen Walker's family and be there with Breonna Taylor's auntie. And so it's just really, really beautiful and sacred work. And I invite everyone, and I always say it's my sacred duty. It's not my 9-to-5 job. I still have to go back to that at the end of the summer. And I'm also grateful to have a job that allows me to heed my sacred duty. And we invite everyone to be in the work any way that you can. If you can sing a song, we want you to come into the movement and sing that song. If you're a great teacher, we need you to be an educator for Black Lives Matter. If you're a young person, we need you to join the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard and transform the school system the way that these kids are doing. And so all of this work is really, really important. It's transformed my life and transformed many, many lives in really beautiful ways.
And and it's important that we keep that in mind, and I talk to a lot of different people, Sister Melina, and one of the things that I found to be very important to me is when I talk to these folks to kind of dig into their brain a little bit. Every time you come on, I got to dig into your brain so that way I can be inspired, because this is inspiring work. We bring voices like yours and so many voices onto this platform. But sometimes people just kind of see you in a two-dimensional way, right? They see you on TV. They just see you like in front of the cameras, not understanding the motivation, the experiences, the pain, and sometimes the struggle of staying committed to a cause that's bigger than yourself. And I know for me, that's important. Yes, the great work that you've been doing as a professor, the great work you do as an organizer, the great work you do as a director, the great work that you do as a model of activism. But I also want to know, how that work has affected you, because that's the stuff that connects me to understanding your struggle. And I'm like, man, Sister Melina went through some things other Black women can go through, can get to a better place. If Sister Melina got through this, I can get to a better place. And so it's building those relationships. And I'm so happy to hear that in the midst of all of this madness that we're seeing, that communities can still be built, relationships, genuine relationships can still be established, especially with families that have lost, their loved ones in a most painful way. I can only imagine, going through the pain of Trayvon Martin's mom, Sister Sabrina, or Jalen Walker's family. When you hear about, we talk about it, oh, he's been shot 60 times, but you have to live with that. You have to live with that reality, to live with that pain. And so I'm happy that, you've been in community with our family in that space, because we need to know that, this is not, these aren't just news stories. These are people's lives. You know what I mean? And it's so important that we understand how serious it is. We got a few moments left, but I wanted to get a sense of, what do you want Black people in particular to take from the Black Lives Matter movement, the Black Lives Matter grassroots efforts, like the ups and downs? There have been, a lot of criticism, and then there's been a lot of applause. So what should we take as we're looking at the past 9 years, and then we're looking forward? What are some of the big lessons that we need to glean from this history?
Sure. There's so much that you just said, right? So, we can't expect to topple a system of white supremacist, patriarchal, heteronormative capitalism, a system that, came up with chattel slavery, a system that came up with prisons, a system that came up with patty rollers who turned into police, and not expect backlash. We can't expect to fight the system with our full selves and not, me and my family have been swatted 3 times by police, our house surrounded by police with AR-15s, helicopters overhead, guns pointed at my chest, my children, hidden in a back room to keep them safe, right? White supremacists pulling up in front of my house, police trying to barge into my hotel room. Those sorts of things happen. There have been professional repercussions that I've faced, right? We can't expect that to happen. And I'm lifting up those examples, but everyone who's in the movement has, suffered, has gone to jail. I've been to jail 8 times. Baba Keely has been in jail. Lots of us have cases now, right? We can't expect that not to come. But what you lifted up just a few moments ago is there's also beauty in the struggle. What has saved me from every single threat is our community, right? So when the police come, I went on IG Live, and guess what? The police who were surrounding me were surrounded by Black people who love me and made sure that I got out and my children got out alive, right? They continue to make sure my children are nourished, right? That my children have access to mental health resources after those traumas, right? There's a beautiful, beloved community that grows in the struggle. And so I want people to know that. I want people to be unafraid to challenge the system, because if we just live under it, it's only a matter of time and luck of the draw that it doesn't directly impact you. Sabrina didn't know that her son was going to be stolen. Oscar Grant's mama, Sister Wanda, didn't know it was going to be her son. I can tell you, Andrew and Deanna Joseph didn't know that it was going to be their 14-year-old child. Waukesha Wilson's mama didn't know that, it was going to be her daughter. And so if we don't fight, it's only the luck of the draw whether or not it visits us. And so we have to fight and find beauty in the struggle and be unafraid, be courageous and courageously disciplined, and join this work. And so I invite everyone personally, this is my personal invitation for everyone to join Black Lives Matter Grassroots. And, we also have a really good time.
Absolutely. Sister Melina, folks have been checking in on our YouTube page. Janelle, I got to ask that question. She said, well, what's the website for Farajii, Black Lives Matter Grassroots? Where can we find it? So what's the official website for BLM Grassroots?
It's blmgrassroots.org, blmgrassroots.org, and we're BLM Grassroots on all social media.
There it is. Sister Dr. Melina Abdullah, this has been always a pleasure to talk to you, but, I'm happy to hear that we're talking about BLM 9 years later. This was not a moment. This is certainly a movement, and it's a beautiful movement to be a part of, to see the continued growth and to hear about the continued work. And you said that the impact report will be made available to the public next week, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Folks, check them out, blmgrassroots.org. And again, Sister Melina, thank you so much for your time, dear sister. We truly love and appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Love you too.
Thank you, sis. Peace. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about affirmative action for college admissions. I want to have this one-on-one discussion with you. And also next hour, we're going to be checking in with celebrity chef, the vegan guru, to talk about veganism and the changing taste of Black America. Stay with us. All of that is happening in the next hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome to the second hour of today's show of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. If you missed the first hour, missed a dynamic hour opportunity when we talked to international motivational speaker Quinn Conyers about Oxford University publishing the first, not the first, but we'll say an extensive Black African-American English dictionary. We had that conversation. And of course, we just talked to our sister, Dr. Melina Abdullah, as we talked about the 9-year anniversary of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. So make sure y'all check us out on the replay. Now, folks, for this next discussion, I wanted to have a conversation about affirmative action because I see something on the horizon happening, especially given the fact that the Supreme Court seems to be putting major issues on the chopping block. Now, if they can disrupt Roe v. Wade after nearly 50 years of that policy being in place, what else can we expect from the Supreme Court? Well, now there's talk that they're possibly looking at changing affirmative action for college admissions. And so one op-ed writer talked about what that means possibly, and bringing up the point that the end of affirmative action at colleges could be a good thing. Now, this is from a columnist by the name of David Von Drow, who is looking at the pros and cons of this issue, and affirmative action being the policy that looks at race being a factor as a way to increase diversity among among colleges and universities across this country. But given the fact that we are in a place where there is more, not just partisan politics, but also we're in a place where race seems to be one of the biggest stumbling blocks, one of the biggest issues that this country has yet to fully address. Are we at a place where you are concerned that affirmative action might be on the chopping block, especially for colleges and universities? First, let me share with you what Mr. Von Drow had said in his op-ed, and then I want to get your facts. I want to get your thoughts and get you what you have to say. And let's weigh in on, let's have a discussion about this. So he said it in his opinion piece, the end of affirmative action at colleges could be a good thing. He said that the clock has been ticking on affirmative action since 2003, when a more moderate court sustained the use of race as a factor in college admissions. Writing in Grutter versus Bollinger, then Justice Sandra Day O'Connor predicted that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary to advance the goal of diversity on campus. Now, that was back in 2003. As he also said this. He also said that necessary or not, that 25-year window is closing a few years early. Among the justices sure to vote against affirmative action is the senior member of the court, Justice Clarence Thomas. He said that as a Black man with long experience of affirmative action, Thomas has argued, echoing the great abolitionist Frederick Douglass, that the supposed benevolence of racial preferences is harmful to those it purports to help. Underprepared students are set up for failure at elite institutions, while well-prepared minority students are placed under a cloud of suspected, inferiority. He said Thomas's critique can point a way forward if Americans of goodwill agree not to retreat into cultural war approaches. However, the policy was originally intended. Affirmative action in college admissions has propped up a lack of action in grade schools and high school. The truly affirmative idea is to ensure that minority students are just as prepared for college as anyone else. I wanted to have a discussion with you, and folks, post your comments on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, and let's just have a brief conversation about this. If the United States Supreme Court, and again, folks, this is just looking at how the court has been proceeding with major decisions. If the United States Supreme Court says that affirmative action in college admission is illegal, is not right, is something that we need to dispose of, would you agree? Should affirmative action continue to be a policy in college admissions? Post your comments, share your thoughts as we have this discussion. Now, when we look at this, and I want to go back to what Mr. Von Driel said about Clarence Thomas's stance, and let's dissect that for a quick moment. Let's really look at this. That Clarence Thomas has believed that the supposed benevolence of racial preferences is harmful to those it purports to help. Do you think that racial preferences, especially when you're talking about colleges, does that help or hurt us? Now, I don't want to use help because I know our sister Quinn just talked about that being a discount word. But in this case, does it, let's change it. Does it encourage Black students, Black youth to really be excellent in the classroom? Where they feel like, they're not just going to be admitted to a school because they're filling a quota, but more importantly, that they're admitted to a school because they have what it takes. They have the grades, they have the discipline, they have the commitment, that they are serious about education and not there just to fill a quota. Now, let's also put in this proper context. I'm just throwing some ideas out there, folks, so we can kind of, talk about it from as many different perspectives as possible. This is not just about Black students. This is also about Latino students. This could be about Asian students. This could be about Black students from the islands. This can be about anyone that is deemed a minority. So at some of your major colleges, and this is one of the things that Mr. Von Driel has brought up in his piece, he talked about the fact that the court agreed this year to hear challenges to the admissions programs at two prestigious universities, one private being Harvard University and one public being the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So they already are studying what this policy is doing at both on a private school level and on a public school level. And what are they finding? And this is, and for all of my educational advocates out there, I want y'all to really, dive into this, because we have benefited from affirmative action. I'm speaking of Black folks. Black folks, we have benefited from it, or have not benefited from it? Let me just share with you what some of you are already saying. Turner family, you checked in. You said, I'm more concerned that the Republican Party is going to make the law of the land based on the original Constitution alone, ignoring all amendments that don't benefit them. Turner family, I'll agree with you. I'm agreeing with you. And I know that, and if that is the case, if you have, I think they use the terminology, Turner family, if y'all remember it, they use the terminology of a traditionalist, fundamentalist, constitutionalist. They came up with some terminology, basically taking the Constitution as is, right? Without any real deep interpretation. That if that is the case, then Black folks are still considered to be 3/5 of a human being, right? I mean, if we look at it, that we're not even considered or deemed to be whole, because according to the United States Constitution, that has yet to be changed. So I think that if you start to look at that, okay, if they go back to the original laws, or they looking at these policies or these laws that the Constitution laid out without understanding the amendments, I think that is a concerning part about it. And it could come from the Republic, and most likely, I'm just going to say it, most likely it's going to come from the Republican Party. Democrats, big tent party, no. Most likely the conservatives within the GOP are going to move that way. So I think, Turner family, you bring up a great point. Hotep Pan Africa, let's post what you have to say. And Turner family, I appreciate you for checking in. Hotep Pan Africa, you said we must ensure our children's success by enriching their experiences. Take them to museums, exploratoriums, zoos, etc. That's true. That's true. That's true. Now, we also know here's a couple of things that the future of our children is often determined by the metric of what their path is like when they get up to the third grade, right? It's that whole prisoner pipeline conversation about, once they see where you are in the third grade, then they can determine whether you're going to go further along in your life or you're going to be you're going to be stopped somewhere in your life by the third grade. And when I look at my son, I can see that my son is not going in that path. God willing, he won't go down that path of getting locked up and being a juvenile and delinquent and all of those crazy things. But I can understand why that metric is used. So yes, to your point, Hotep Pan-Africa, you are right. To get our children open, let's also talk about the fact that now they're looking at children at the elementary school age and even at the middle school age to determine, what their educational trajectory will be, and determining whether they go to which college they will go to. There are colleges, major colleges, both public and private, are looking at that. When I was growing up, I remember my high school counselor telling me, well, colleges, they look at your junior and your sophomore and your junior year, especially on your SATs and everything. And so there was greater emphasis placed on the high school years than they were on the middle school and the elementary school years. Now that thing, I think that is changing to the point where we're talking about the trajectory of growth, the trajectory of progress. What is going to be the educational path that your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, what is going to be their path at a very young age? And this can determine, I'm just throwing this out there, folks, this can determine whether affirmative action is going to help, is going to encourage college admission, or if it's going to stop it. So I think that is absolutely on point. Folks, continue to post your comments as we have this conversation. And I'm asking a simple question. Should affirmative action continue to be put to use when you're talking about college admissions? Some folks are saying no. Like, if you're looking at the stance of Clarence Thomas, he might be saying, no, we should not continue to use race. There are a number of Black people in this country who don't want to use race as a factor to get further along. And that might be you. That might be you. That we should be accepted based upon our merit. That we should be accepted based upon our excellence, right, in the classroom. That we should not be given a free pass or an open door. Here's how I think we should also think about this. I understand the power of that stance. I get that. But I also understand that these institutions have benefited from us. Remember, we had this conversation, and we played the replay last week. I had the conversation about Harvard University and how they had finally admitted that they have gained or benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. Now, we talked to Dr. Carr about this, right? My guy, your guy, one of our favorite scholars, Dr. Greg Carr from Howard University. And Dr. Carr just put it out there plainly, like, yeah, that's fine. But Harvard has an endowment of $50 billion. Like, they have a monster endowment. So the admission of gaining from this transatlantic slave trade is one thing, and that Harvard is attempting to try to right their wrongs. But at the end of the day, they have the financial resources, they have the reputation and the stature to do some things. And I don't know if we should just say, well, we don't need no help. I don't think that should be the case. I think that these institutions, especially some of your prestigious elite institutions, they owe us in terms of making sure that our children, the next generation, get a quality educational experience. I don't think that we should totally, just completely say no. No. Part of here's let's take it to another level here, folks, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong or not, or what your thoughts are. When we talk about reparations, I don't want a check. I would rather have my son, my daughter, your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your grandchildren to have a pathway to educational excellence. Like, yes, we can get a check, but I want to remove the red tape, right? That there is a pathway where our sons, our children, our young people are able to take advantage of some of the quality education or better education that is being offered by some of these prestigious and elite universities, especially those that have benefited from our suffering and our pain and our enslavement. That should be a part of the conversation for reparations. That should not be outside of it. That it's not just about the check. Oh, I'm going to give me $100,000, or I don't care if it's $1 million. But I'm talking about institutional change. I'm talking about a pathway that is going to set the next generation up, our young people up, where we're breaking generational curses, where we're establishing new legacies. That's what I think should be a part of the conversation around reparations. So I'm not totally against this idea to use race. Folks, look, every institution has their own interests, and we have our interests as a people. That means that, okay, if you want to try to meet a certain quota for diversity, that's fine. Not to say that you want to just make our guidelines lax or that you just want to give us something, but it's let's reframe it. This is not about giving. This is about owing. Okay, let's just keep this clear. You've gained as a result of our ignorance, so you owe us. Y'all tell me what you think of this. All right, let's go back to let me go back to your comments. Forensic accountant, let me share what you have to say. Forensic, you said you can be anti-affirmative action when you deposit $17,000 cash through the ATM to cover your expenses for the semester. Right. That's huge. Right. Forensic, thank you so much for checking in. Janae, always good to hear from you. You said this is an indirect way of ceasing funding from the government, and then it will truly be alumni celebrity funding of colleges. Yeah, could be. I could definitely see that. You know, we know that colleges gain when they take a part of this. Could be. Karen, Janae, thank you so much for checking in. Karen, you checked in. Karen Kofi Carlton, you said, first, we have never been given a free pass. Second, some wanted to go to the schools because for some jobs, they would only consider people who went to Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, Stanford. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is not, again, and even for us, and going back to what we were talking about with Quinn, language is important. This is not a free pass. This is not a free pass. When you have a people that have suffered as a result of ignorance that you have imposed on them, this is not a free pass. If you're talking about a true reckoning, and they talked about that whole racial reckoning of 2020, no, the real racial reckoning comes in quality education, right? I mean, I think we can all agree with that. When you're talking about a very real racial reckoning in this country, what is the state of education for Black children and Black youth? That's the reckoning. That's where the reckoning starts. And how are institutions that have gained off of the ignorance of Black people, Black children, Black youth going to right that wrong? Danita, you checked in. Awesome. Danita, it's always good to hear from you. And Karen, again, thank you so much, sis. Danita, you said, I say yes, the field is uneven. Our children are brilliant, but if the schools they are coming from, K through 12 of subpar, how can they achieve the greatness necessary to enter these biased universities? Exactly. Look, how many of us have children, and I've seen this face to face to myself, folks. How many of us know children or have children in our families, right, that are doing exceptionally well? They have excelled, but they go to subpar schools. And as a result of the school, not because of the child, but as a result of the school, they're not able to get as far because they go to a certain school. I've seen that at an elementary and middle school level when children who have gone to subpar elementary, subpar middle schools, they do well in both of those schools. And but when they go to high school, it becomes a challenge not because again of the child, but because of the institution. So that is, Danita, I appreciate you for bringing it up because I think that's a huge problem as well. Queen's Kid 79, you checked in and said affirmative action is wrong, but legacy is okay because they don't have anything to say about legacy. Okay. That's interesting, Tate. Okay, I'll let you have that one. Karina, you checked in. You said Farajii Muhammad, same here. I want the pathway and the checks would be a bonus. Exactly. Hey, Karina, you and I are on the same page, sis. That's what I'm talking about. I don't need, look, I get up, I work, I am an able-bodied individual, I work. But one of the things that I'm seeing is I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. So you're talking about in 9 years when my son, God willing, goes to college, he's going to go to college. He's going to go to a school of quality education. When he goes to college, we don't know. And just think about this, in 9 to 10 years, what is going to be the cost of college in America? It's already high right now. We're already talking about student loan debt and the high price of college with no certainty that they're going to come out making or they're going to excel, right? Be further along. So I do want this. If we're talking about reparations in 2022, I don't want to have a conversation in 2032 where we're still saying, well, we need reparations and more importantly, education. Education has to be a part of the reparations conversation. It is not financial for me. It is not financial. I want land and I want quality education. You want real reparations, and y'all can disagree with me. You can have the money. Give me land. Give me a quality education because I'm thinking about legacy. I'm thinking about future. I'm thinking about generational wealth. All right, Karina, appreciate you on that one. Patricia, you checked in. Patricia Johnson, always good to hear from you, sis. You said, stop the loopholes. Private school students have a privilege because parents have paid into college. Look, let me tell you something. I put my son in private school for the first 4 years of his life. It is a huge difference. I got to have a conversation. We got to do a segment, folks. And you know what? I will do a segment. God willing, we're going to do one on why Black children and Black parents need to consider private school. Huge difference. And I'm not just talking about, I'm talking about a well-established $29,000, $30,000 private school. We did that. And it makes a huge difference. It makes a difference for that child. It makes a difference on the network of that child, the network for the families that are involved for Black students. I know we're not always in that space, but I am a huge advocate. Black people need to go to private school, to those established private schools in your area. They help with they have quotas too. They need Black people in those spaces too. We need to take full advantage of that. And you might say, well, it's a white. Try to find a private school that speaks to the values of you and your family. But we need to be in those places. It makes a difference. Trust and believe. The education makes a difference. The view that the child has about themselves makes a difference. They know. And more importantly, you are going to be a part of a network that's going to set your child up to be in different spaces. Come on, folks. This is not just about ourselves. Back in the day, And I'm sure some of you probably have experienced this. When my father and my mom, they didn't think about private school, for example. They didn't, these conversations about educational legacy wasn't as strong back in the day as they are now. Public schools were pretty decent. Public schools weren't as bad. But in a day and a time like this, you got to be intentional about the educational path that you want your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew to take. You have to be present and intentional about that. You can't just say, I'm going to just send them to my local public school and all is going to be well. You can't do it. And that leads to them to not be in a space where they have to be admitted just based on their race. They will be admitted because they got the merit, they got the grades, they got the discipline, they got what they need to take for that. Let's go to Patricia. I appreciate you for bringing that up. Chris V checked in. Chris, you got something to say. You said these schools would be foul enough to raise tuition costs if we got reparations in the form of free education. They'll make sure to get money out of us one way or another. Yeah, they would probably. But most importantly, let me tell you, if that's a part of the conversation at the beginning and they get that free money, they get that money from someplace else and not from Black families. They get it from the government, get it from a corporation, but don't keep taxing Black families for something that we are owed. That's how I feel about it, Chris. Appreciate you. Zoe Bing checked in and said, Zoe, and you said in 2022, we still have a countless number of first generation of Black people going to college. More opportunities to equal the playing field should exist, not less. Facts. There it is. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And again, when we're talking about evening that playing field, we're talking about down the road. This is not about present moment. This is about future. And if we don't have a conversation about the future legacy, the future educational path that our children are going to be making or taking rather, then what are we really talking about? So affirmative action, if that comes up on the chopping block, and like I said, the Supreme Court is looking, they're talking about, striking same-sex marriages in some areas. They're talking about changing a lot if this conservative Supreme Court, these justices continue to have their way. Affirmative action is going to be there, maybe on the chopping block, and we need to be prepared for that and to be intentional about what we want to see happen for the sake of our children. All right, folks, I appreciate y'all checking in with me on this conversation. Look, when we move forward, we're going to have a conversation with celebrity chef, the vegan guru, to talk to us about veganism and the changing taste of Black America. Stay with us. That discussion is up next right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, for our final discussion today here on the show, I wanted to, and I've been trying to get this brother on. I'm happy that he's joining us today. I know he's moving and shaking and doing the great things that he's doing, but I really wanted to have a conversation about the changing taste of Black folks in this country, as he is known as the celebrity chef, the vegan guru, Brother Dowdy McLean, who's checking in and to talk to us a little bit about the power of veganism, why it's important for us to be very conscious and mindful about our eating. And, where does he see this movement for healthy eating going over these next few years? So we want to welcome to the airwaves of the Black Star Network, to the culture, the vegan guru, the celebrity chef.
Oh, it's the guru. What's up, fam? Hey, pleasure to be here. You know what I'm saying? Giving thanks.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you so much for being with us, Chef. This is an awesome situation. First and foremost, you're known as the vegan guru. Talk to us, Chef, about your journey into veganism and how you got to be where you are today.
Hey, man, I dropped 115 pounds in 11.5 months without missing a meal when I changed from a diet to a living. You dig? Stop putting death into my body, but putting those things that was all about life, plant-based and such. So, my life changed from that point, man. I was, a fireman in New York, moved out to California as a producer and became a vegan. Also, made some moves in the music industry back then, and it's been about 30 years now. I fed Tupac vegan spaghetti. Let's go. So, hey, here we go.
Wow. So you work with a number of high-profile Black folks in particular, to try to spread the word about the benefits of veganism. I know you don't like to toot your own horn, but who are some of the folks? You said Tupac, but who are some of the other folks that you work with?
I couldn't possibly tell you everyone. We'd be here all day, but started out with Mary Gospel Group, Warren Campbell, Pastor Warren Campbell now was a good friend back when he was very young, and called me for Mary first season of Sunday Best, and they went from 2 50-cent pieces to dime pieces, you know what I'm saying, in the finale. So from there, Reginald Hudlin, Cedric the Entertainer, Magic Johnson, Love My Food, his wife, probably told me his best vegan lasagna, best lasagna period, vegan and non-vegan. I mean, I do Jeremiah, ASAP Rocky, Mustard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do everybody, but some of the key people, I help, really, it changed their life forever. And, it's more or less my most incredible client is my mom. She was 70 years old. She had diabetes. She was overweight. She lost 70 pounds, put her cane down. And she's 93 now, like she's 63 and having a great time. And she's vegan 23 years. So that's my most amazing client, Bob Duke.
I hear you. Now, let's talk about veganism, because this is a growing movement. And, some people still see it as like a for lack of a better word, a white man's diet, right? They don't see that Black folks in this country have really have changed the way that we eat. So talk to us about the evolution of this movement. Are you still getting pushback on being a vegan and from Black folks?
No, not really. My situation is we've revolutionized this industry because, I'm a flavorologist, and that is innately in my blood. You feel me? So when we started to use plants and plant-based proteins, and of course they have evolved. I've been vegan 30 years. So back 30 years ago, we didn't have the different things that we have today. That Murder King and McMurder and all them jumping on just to have to take advantage of healthy eating. We didn't have those things back in the day, but now we have textures that are really great grain, whole grain and plant-based textures, proteins that we can put our flair to it. You feel me? I teach my people, look, You love a double bacon double cheeseburger. Here, eat this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming to my people in the projects with hummus and tabbouleh. They palate is not ready for that kind of thing. But what they really ready for is some fluff daddy pancakes. You know what I'm saying? With some sauce. The pigs, they ready for the pigs to be running around in that crispy guru bacon, but ain't no pigs in it. You feel me?
Right.
So this is the energy I'm on with our people. I lost the weight changing from a diet to an eating plan. You know what I'm saying? And that natural movement changed my life forever. So if we can take care of our bodies by putting the right food and what we eat into our bodies, we would be less apt to harm another body. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm bringing, man, we got to let the lion lay with the lamb like in the garden, baby. Let's go.
I hear you. So if we look at this whole thing, Chef, in terms of veganism, right, and the changing taste, like, for example, I practice veganism. My wife is gluten-free, but it still seems, I don't know why, but you go into the Black community, and when you start talking to Black folks about gluten, when you start talking to Black folks about, or being gluten-free or the impact that gluten has, or when you start talking to Black folks about keto, when you start talking to Black folks about being plant-based, it still seems to be this foreign thing, bro. It's like Black folks, they be like, what's gluten? And it's like,
right.
I don't, I get a little frustrated because I'm like, yo, this is 2022. Everybody don't eat soul food. Everybody don't eat, the drink milk. And it is crazy because it's like, we know that the food is killing us. You know what I'm saying? We know the food is killing us, but we got this attachment. And I know it's part of it is physical, but most of it is emotional and it's like conditioned. We got this attachment to bad and unhealthy food, bro. That seems to be unbreakable.
That's why what I call my food is bridge food. One side of the bridge is always in the troubled land. The other side is in the promised land. You feel me? So basically, like I said before, when you come from a Chinese place, a McMurder, you know what I mean, and the bodega on the corner, and that's your whole life, your neighborhood, the pizza place, that's all you've been eating, then in order to get you from out of that troubled land, I'm gonna have to give you something similar to that, but with a flair or with a little something different that's healthier. Not the worst of the worst. You feel me? So then we get you to eat. I trick them into eating plants because raw food is the cell food that we really need to get our minds and our palates right. Is that raw salads and raw fresh juices and things of that nature. So we start out by tricking them into understanding, look, here's Captain Crunch berries, but it's not cow milk.
Right.
I got you with some almond milk, man. Here, look. And then they get on the bridge, trip, trap, get over that joint. By the time they get to the other side, now they've gotten something like some fried chicken that's made from soy, or some or a burger or something that's not animal, it's not flesh. And now they get to say, oh, I'm conscious. I lost a little weight. I feel a little better. Let me go raw. Let me do a juice fast. Their mind and their body starts to speak to them. You feel me? Yeah. So for me, the answer for us as a people is to keep getting cats like, JB Smooth, others that I rock with in the game. A lot of important people. I've done the Green Bay Packers. You got a lot of artists. You got Kyrie Irving. You got athletes that are vegan. You feel me? So they got to let our people know that this is not a fad. This is just returning back to the natural way. We sun people. We people of nature. You know what I'm saying? So we just returning back. But here, let me help you get there easy. You know what I'm saying? Taste this mac and cheese. Make you smack your grandma.
Right.
But mac and cheese. You feel me? So that's how I'm approaching the situation. I did a show with Just Angela. Y'all check that out. You know what I'm saying? On YouTube, Just Angela. We did a TV show. I dropped some recipes on there. It's awesome. A fun joint. Y'all check that out. And also follow the guru on the gram, the vegan guru, DA Vegan Guru. Let's go.
All right, now, so here's the other part of this discussion I think is important, which is the cost of being a vegan, the cost of eating alternatively than what we have been accustomed to. Yeah. How do you reconcile that? Money, I mean, look, we all know it. You know it. Food prices have gone up around this country because of inflation. Right. But there is a real cost, Chef, to eating healthy in America. It's almost like you're being penalized for trying to eat healthy in this country. Where do we start with that?
Okay, I tell my clients all the time, I got my book dropping to The Vegan Guru, How I Lost 115 Pounds, 11.5 months. And I talk about creating avid grocery hunters. You feel me? Avid grocery hunters. The lion does not have a refrigerator. The lion does not have a refrigerator. Most of us are hoard shoppers, or we are, messed up with the mentality that if our refrigerator is empty, then we're empty. Or if our refrigerator is full and our cupboards are full, then we're wealthy, or we got it going on. No, 60 to 70% of those cupboards, those foods with the mass shopping and those meats and those flesh foods that y'all put in the freezer, get freezer burned, go stale. You do not eat or drink all that soda, whatever. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to think about it. What does the lion do? It eats when it's hungry. It grabs whatever's close. I don't care if it's sick, got a leg broke, whatever. I'm snatching that. And he's eating that up. Right. This is have to look at our refrigerators. Our refrigerators should house fresh fruits and veggies, and you should go to the market 2 to 3 times a week, interact with your community, talk to your people like you going out to the garden and grabbing your food and bringing it home to eat. Your refrigerator should not be filled up. You feel me? Maybe some condiments, a few things, your milk, whatever. Same thing goes for the cupboard. You know what I mean? Only what you're eating during that week, during, maybe 2 weeks, you got those things and you're replenishing those things. You feel me? Because you're consuming those things. Now you're not wasting. Watch your dollar stretch. Watch your food dollar stretch. Now, we still a grocery hunter though, right? So we got to go to Trader Joe's. We got to go to Whole Foods sometimes because it's whole paycheck. Then we got to go to our local market and find out what's in there that's vegan friendly and that compatible to Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sprouts is the best price. It's your work, but you love to do it. Guess what? You got more energy now. You done lost 30 pounds. Your skin is glowing. You feel great. You feel 25 forever. You could go to a couple of markets real quick. Matter of fact, if it's in walking distance, walk to them joints. Right. You feel? Get into that natural vibe, that natural movement. Now you're saving money on medications, no medications. My kid's born at home. You know what I'm saying? Master bedroom. They vegan from birth. No medication, you don't need it. It doesn't, it's not necessary when you're taking care of your body. So you're saving money on that. Common cold can't catch you. So now you don't got to buy cough medicine and all these different things. As you begin to see your lifestyle change, you feel me? You'll see that the amount of money that you're spending and what you're doing balances out. You feel me? It ends up balancing out. But what is greater is the health benefits and that you get for your life, your body, your family. Oh, it's priceless.
Absolutely. Now, here's the other part about this conversation, Chef, is that people want to get a vegan version of meat dishes. And I'm wondering, is that really the right mindset to hear? Like, for example, Hotep, you posted something, Hotep Pan Africa, you said press fry oyster mushrooms, slather with barbecue sauce, have a delicious quote unquote pulled pork sandwich. Now, I get the flavor that Hotep Pan Africa you saying, but I also kind of get pushback like your vegan menu should not necessarily be a mimic or a copy of the meat menu. Like if you want to eat a pulled pork sandwich, she can just eat a pulled pork sandwich. You know what I mean? Like versus just like, oh, I want a vegan pulled pork sandwich. It's like you still haven't made that true transition. Talk to us about that, Chef.
Yeah, this is what I do. I tell people that the problem is that the food that we are used to was bamboozled and switched around on us to begin with. For example, the Bible definition for the word meat is seeds, nuts, legumes, whole grains, vegetables, and fruits, like the meat of a coconut, peel the skin off the orange. You feel me? But they don't switch meat to synonymous with flesh, when meat and flesh are two different things. But you ain't gonna hear nobody saying, "Oh, give me that flesh burger." they call it a hamburger when they know it ain't ham. It ain't a pork burger. It's from beef. It's supposed to be a beef burger. So if anything, you're supposed to call it a beef burger, but you call it a hamburger. But the truth is, it's a flesh burger, and flesh is flesh. Whether it's pig, beef, horse, pig, cow, snake, squid, whatever they eat. So what I'm trying to tell you is, when people are unaware of the fact that true meat is seeds, nuts, legumes, whole grains, like plant-based protein, you know what I mean? I tell you again, the bridge takes them from that troublesome, uneducated world into the world of veganism. Now, once you get there, you can go raw, you can do ITAL, you can do gluten-free. Why? Because you've put that first step energy, you know what I'm saying, into changing your eating plan to make your life better. And if you do that, your body, your mind, your body's fearfully and wonderfully made by the Most High, it heals itself. It will take you to where you really need to be. And some of us are different. Some of us, want to be fruitarians. You know what I'm saying? Some of us just want to eat grass. I mean, but that's cool. But for the majority of my people, I come from the projects and the stone, asphalt, concrete jungle. You know what I'm saying? And so for my people, I need to give them that barbecue chicken till they get to that point where they want to go and do even greater because of what that plant-based item has done for them. Feel me? So that's the way I look at it. I don't really, judge. I like to say chicken. I like to say, cheeseburger, because I want my people who grew up like me to think, okay, that's what it is. Let me taste it. Wow, it don't taste. It ain't. Hey, wait a minute. This ain't chicken. You feel me? Yeah, and then they go into, well, what else can I eat if I can get away with not eating flesh? What else is great for me? I feel better. So they go into their own world of understanding fruits, vegetables. Their palate changes. Your taste buds are brand new every 2 weeks, bro.
Right. Whoa. You drop a jewel on that one.
Body made of cells. All cells. If I wipe away, I'm gonna wipe away my arm. I'm gonna wipe a sword to my arm.
Right.
Bones. Your eyes are brand new every 4 months. Your entire heart muscle is brand new every 6 months. That's why when you eating vegan food or plant-based food, 99.9%, you're not gonna have a heart attack because you're constantly recreating with the proper building materials, sticks, bricks, stick, straw, bricks, straw, sticks, or bricks. I'm building with nature's natural bricks. You feel me? And so your taste buds are new every 2 weeks. When I tasted an olive, I thought it was a grape. So I was like, grapes are nasty. Those grapes are sour. Somebody said, hey, those are olives. People with class eat that. I said, well, give me some more olives. I was 8 years old. 8 olives for a week, 2 weeks. I love olives. Acquired taste. Taste buds are brand new. As you begin to eat this food and purify your body from flesh, watch how delicious that burger tastes. Watch how delicious that broccoli tastes. Watch how delicious, you know what I'm saying, those vegetables, those plant-based proteins begin to taste daily, every month, every year, always. I go crazy every time I eat. I've been doing it for 30 years, brother. So that's my answer.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let me just take a couple of comments from our watchers, Chef. People are checking in, having a robust discussion about veganism and food on all of our platforms. Danita, you checked in and said, look, vegan soul food is good. You can jerk just about everything. I know fried food is not great, but fried chicken, mushroom, or cauliflower is so good. So there are some, like, you can still do the fried stuff, but just with certain vegetables that won't be as healthy, right? I mean, unhealthy.
Also, the vegetable, but also, most importantly, your high heat oil. You should use a safflower oil, a grapeseed extract.
Okay.
Do not use Crisco or none of these goofy.
Oh God, no.
No, you're using a high, sensitive to heat oil when you're doing your saute, your pan sear, or any type of frying.
There it is, right there. All right, let's go to Karina. Karina, you say, look, I'm somewhat open to vegan dishes occasionally, but not as a lifestyle. I love my bacon and I love my cheese. Karina, you're one of them ones that we talked about. Let me stop, Karina. I get it. I definitely get it. I totally understand it.
I destroyed Karina's taste buds. Yo, my guru crispy bacon, she swear the pig, we caught a pig right outside.
But she really talks about that attachment though, Chef. Like we brought it up, but there's a real attachment to food though.
No, I've seen that. That's a situation that only can be healed, you know what I'm saying, by the cat that, you know, when Doubting Thomas had to put his finger in the holes and Jesus holding the hand, that's what, you know, that could only be healed by smacking them with the mac and cheese, you know, just getting them, catching their taste buds right there. And they go, oh my God, wait a minute. Nah, you lying. What kind of cheese you using here? No, for real. If I had a nickel for every time, bro, I'd be a billionaire right now.
I hear that. Davey, you checked in. Davey, good to hear from you, bro. Davey, you checked in and said, look, I was raised on fast food, soda, and corner stores. Come on, man. Now I'll be eating tofu and plant-based meat and drinking water. I can't let my hot sauce go, though. So he sound like he already in a different direction, in different space.
He right. He done been converted. He already there. Cause that's what happened to all of us. I was a fat doughboy, and that's all I did was soda and everything at McDonald's and everything that you can think of at the corner joint, the very fine pineapple pies, Snapples, the Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I was doing all of that. And so
the Snapples. Yes, brother. The Snapples. Hey, look, man, I think all of us, bro. Hey, Chef, all of us was drinking the Snapples, bro.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I'm you know, I totally relate to my man. And water is the number one fat burner, number one energy builder. The brain signal for hunger and thirst. The impulse is the same for hunger and thirst. Therefore, when you drink water, that's why it cuts the appetite in half. Your body doesn't know if it's hungry or thirsty. You open the refrigerator and go, what do I want to eat? You're not hungry. You're thirsty. If you was the lion, you grab whatever it is. Like I told you about the lion. I got it. All right.
Hey, Chef, well, just very quickly, I mean, this is a journey, right?
Yeah.
So people come into veganism or just into healthy eating from a lot of different places, and more importantly, a lot of different mindsets. So what are some of the resources that you would recommend to help people along? Like, you know, if it's on your website, are there some books that you would recommend, some literature? How do people get a proper start into turning their diets around?
Man, real easy, real simple. I'll say the things that helped me. First, it was a Dr. Sebi pamphlet that I found. I didn't want to read it because I wanted to keep eating Krispy Kreme. So after about 3 months went by, I started drinking water for a week. I lost 13 pounds in 1 week just drinking water. That's when I learned about the water science. So then I said, where's that pamphlet? I picked it up and it told me to get rid of all dairy products and all meat products. That was the first thing. Another thing that really helped, as I researched on my own, but this will help people today, is What the Health, which is a movie that you can Google and search What the Health. And the other one, say again?
I was just saying, I've heard about, I've seen parts of that documentary. That documentary, brother.
That's powerful. What the Health?
Huge, very powerful.
Game Changers. The Game Changers is really, it was the next one after What the Health. It's really powerful, really great. So from every aspect of what you can think of, whether it's health, whether it's wanting to be a better athlete, whether it's that you love animals or you love nature, all of that is covered in the Game Changers, and it can help you, kind of just figure out your way. Other than that, my Instagram, the Vegan Guru, I'm going to give you guys I'm doing this restaurant in Brooklyn, opening next month. I'm going to have I'm going to say my record. It is like a record, you know what I'm saying? My book coming out. My book dropping, you know what I mean? And It's beautiful, so that can help people with the journey that I had, which I talk about Trader Joe's, how to go average grocery hunting, different things that will help people just step by step do the journey. And of course, I provide the food as well. So, we want to help. We want to feed 1 million mouths. FAMM, fam. That's my foundation.
There it is right there. Hey, Chef, we got to bring you back on as it gets closer to that restaurant opening.
Absolutely.
And you say you're doing it in Brooklyn. That's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be huge, brother.
Absolutely.
Because I know there's a turning tide in New York, Los Angeles, Baltimore. I mean, across this country, veganism and different forms of eating, different diets is taking over. It's getting slow. It's still, like I said at the beginning, Chef, it's still a slow build in the Black community.
Only in certain areas, but we are definitely the pioneers and the leaders. Also want to say,
I would agree.
I'm in Coney Island on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. Y'all come out. We at Coney Island Art Walls with the pop-up and get some of this delicious grub.
There it is right there. Folks, we've been talking to the vegan guru, celebrity chef, Brother Dowdy McLean, and y'all can check him out on all social media platforms. Hey, Chef, I truly, truly appreciate your insight, man, your experience, and just talking to us about the benefits and the beauty of veganism and the changing tastes here in Black America. And we would love to bring you back on, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Appreciate you. Love your platform. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. There it is. There it is, folks. The vegan guru, man. Oh man. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. There it is right there, folks. Appreciate you, bro. Man, oh man. Well, look, folks, our time has been very well spent. I want to thank all of my very, very powerful guests. I want to thank Quinn Conyers, Dr. Malin Abdullah, and of course the vegan guru. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Man, oh man, I really enjoyed the discussions that we had today. So hopefully you did. And hopefully it will encourage you folks to continue to support us here at Black Star Network. Make sure y'all go to our website, blackstarnetwork.com. Make sure you show support. Support Black Star Network, Black-owned media like no other. We are changing the face of leadership and media in the country. And with our shows, the new show being The Pivot, hosted by our very own Stephanie Humphreys, Tech Life with Steph. I mean, we're just doing very, very different programming to speak to your needs, to speak to the diverse interests of the Black community in Black America. So make sure y'all continue to show y'all support, share all the videos and the content, let people know that we are rocking and rolling. And more importantly, let's continue to support us. All right. So tomorrow we're going to have a conversation a little bit more about politics, because in the state of Maryland, folks, the ballots are still being counted from yesterday's primary, even though there looks like there might be a winner on the Democratic side with candidate Wes Moore, and on the Republican side, a Trump-backed candidate in the state of Maryland. So it's going to be interesting if those leads hold up. It's going to be interesting to see in the general election this fall who's going to prevail. But we're going to have a conversation about that tomorrow and a whole lot more. So I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Big shout out to my Culture Crew online community. Thank you so much for always being there, always checking in, having so many of you being a part of the conversation. I want to thank my powerful team, my production team, Joel, Shannon, Keenan, Ariel. I want to thank Eve, all of them. And we'll bring some Culture Crew members back on tomorrow and Friday. But stay tuned. Up next at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is my big brother Roland Martin with Roland Martin Unfiltered. And as always, folks, remember this: never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you soon. Peace.